Listen to me carefully. The enemy doesn't always announce his attacks. Sometimes it's in the quiet, hidden places. Sometimes it's when you least expect it. But let me tell you something. God has given you the authority to stop it. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait for peace to come. Psalm 91, 7 times, is the weapon to use when fear, oppression, and invisible attacks begin to take root. This psalm is your shield, your protection, your defense. But there's more. It's your weapon for warfare. I'm about to show you how to seal your life and your family from the sudden, invisible attacks that come to steal your peace and break your spirit. These attacks may come as fear, anxiety, spiritual pressure, or something even more sinister. But today, right now, you will learn how to break those chains once and for all. Are you ready to declare that these attacks stop here? Because once you start praying Psalm 91 7 times, nothing can touch you. No attack, no spirit of fear, no invisible forces. They will not have access to your life anymore. Stay with me, because the moment you decide to seal your life with this psalm, you are walking into a new season of divine protection. This is not just a YouTube channel. This is a community of faith, prayer, and spiritual authority. Here, you are standing with more than 32,000 active intercessors who pray, declare, and fight in the Spirit every single day for protection, deliverance, and victory. If you are here, it is not by accident. You are here because God is covering you, alerting you, and positioning you. In this community, no one fights alone. Every prayer request is lifted, every name is covered, and every battle is taken seriously before God. As you watch, I invite you to pray with us, not as a spectator, but as someone who belongs. This is a place where fear is confronted, attacks are exposed, and lives are sealed under God's protection. Take a moment and type this declaration in the comments as an act of faith and agreement. God fights my battles for me and for my family. When you do, you are stepping into agreement with thousands who are showing up in prayer for you right now. You are covered. You are protected. And what follows you will not cross this line. Stay with us. If this prayer connects with your spirit, subscribe to Psalm 91 Warfare Now and stay under this covering of protection and prayer. This is a community where battles are taken seriously and no one stands alone. Now go to the comments and write your prayer request. Keep it simple. One word or one sentence is enough. When you place it there, thousands of intercessors will stand with you in prayer. Then make this declaration out loud and type it in the comments as an act of faith. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. When you declare this, you are aligning yourself with Psalm 91 and sealing your life under God's protection. Finally, don't leave this atmosphere yet. Watch the next recommended video and remain under this spiritual covering. What God begins here, He continues. You are covered. You are protected. And nothing that tries to rise against you will succeed. Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear is not symbolic, emotional, or poetic. It is instruction for protection. Psalm 91 is not a comfort psalm. It is a warfare psalm. It was not written to calm people who feel safe. It was written for moments when danger is real, unseen, sudden, and unfair, when attacks do not announce themselves, when pressure appears without explanation, when fear shows up, even though nothing visible has changed. This psalm exists for moments like that. Many people misunderstand Psalm 91 because they read it passively, but David did not write it as a suggestion. He wrote it as a position. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. That word dwells is not accidental. It means to remain, to stay, to take residence. Protection is not something you visit occasionally. It is something you choose to live under. Sudden attacks do not always look dramatic. Sometimes they show up as anxiety that appears out of nowhere. Sometimes as a heaviness you can't explain. Sometimes as confusion, fear, or emotional pressure that doesn't match your circumstances. Invisible attacks are dangerous because people try to explain them away instead of confronting them spiritually. Psalm 91 removes confusion. It draws a line. When David speaks of the snare of the fowler and the deadly pestilence, he is describing traps that are hidden and dangers that move unseen. These are not loud threats. These are calculated attacks, and the psalm does not deny their existence. It neutralizes them. One of the enemy's greatest advantages is surprise, sudden fear, sudden loss of peace, sudden discouragement, sudden temptation. Psalm 91 shuts down surprise by establishing coverage before the attack arrives. It is not reactive, it is preventative. That is why this psalm is repeated 7 times, not because repetition is ritual, but because repetition reinforces position. What repeats in the spirit becomes established. Patterns are not broken by awareness alone. They are broken by consistent spiritual alignment. When you declare Psalm 91 repeatedly, you are not convincing God. You are withdrawing access from what tries to approach you. You are reminding the spiritual realm where you dwell. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall find refuge. This is not imagery for emotion. This is language of jurisdiction. Refuge means a place where the enemy is not authorized to enter. Under his wings is not a feeling. It is a boundary. Many people ask why attacks still happen even when they pray. Often it is because prayer is spoken without position. Psalm 91 is not a plea. It is a declaration of location. You are stating where you live spiritually, and location determines access. In him I will trust. Trust here is not optimism. It is alignment. When trust is established, fear loses leverage. Fear requires uncertainty to survive. Psalm 91 removes uncertainty by anchoring the soul in protection that does not depend on circumstances. The psalm continues, "You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day." Notice the wording, night and day, visible and invisible, conscious and unconscious. This is total coverage. Night attacks often happen when people are resting, vulnerable, or mentally quiet. Day attacks often happen through distraction, pressure, and decision-making. Psalm 91 covers both. Generational patterns often operate through timing. Attacks that show up at the same moments in life, pressure that appears during progress, fear that rises when peace should increase. Psalm 91 disrupts timing by removing access altogether. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This is not exaggeration. This is separation language. It means what affects others does not automatically affect you. You are not required to inherit what is happening around you. Proximity does not equal permission. This is especially important for people who feel spiritually sensitive. You pick up atmospheres. You feel pressure quickly. Psalm 91 teaches you that sensitivity does not mean vulnerability. When you dwell under the Most High, sensitivity becomes discernment, not exposure. For he shall give his angels charge over you. This is not symbolic. This is assignment. Protection is active, not abstract. Angels are dispatched, not imagined. God does not respond to danger with hope alone. He responds with action. But notice something critical. Angels are assigned where dwelling is established. They operate in alignment with position. That is why casual engagement with Scripture produces casual results. Dwelling produces coverage. There are people listening who have been dealing with sudden disruptions. Not constant chaos, but unexpected moments of fear, pressure, or heaviness that make no sense. This is not weakness, it is often resistance. And resistance appears when something valuable is present. Psalm 91 does not ask you to fight the attack, it asks you to remain covered. When you are covered, the attack fails automatically. You are not chasing darkness, you are standing in light. This is why the enemy works so hard to pull people out of position through distraction, offense, fatigue, and fear. if he cannot overpower you, he tries to relocate you spiritually. Psalm 91 anchors you. If you feel this message speaking directly to you, pause for a moment and respond in agreement. Go to the comments and write this declaration as an act of faith and alignment. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. When you write it, you are not just engaging with a video, you are reinforcing your position. Agreement matters. As we continue, understand this clearly. Protection is already active. Coverage is already available. The question is not whether God is willing. The question is whether you will remain. Psalm 91 is not about visiting safety. It is about living there. Before we go any further, there is something you need to understand clearly, and I'm going to speak to you directly. Staying connected to this channel is not about numbers, algorithms, or routine subscriptions. It is about consistency of covering. Spiritual protection is not built in isolated moments. It is built through continued alignment. One prayer helps, one declaration strengthens. But what keeps you sealed is returning, remaining, and staying connected to truth that reinforces your position again and again. That is why subscribing to this channel matters. Every time you come back to Psalm 91 Warfare, you are not just watching another video. You are placing yourself again under an atmosphere of prayer, authority, and spiritual clarity. You are reminding your spirit where it belongs. You are reinforcing the same message your soul needs to hear repeatedly. You are covered, you are protected, and you are not fighting alone. The enemy does not attack randomly. He watches patterns. He looks for gaps. He looks for moments when people disconnect, drift, or stop reinforcing truth. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. One strong prayer followed by long silence creates vulnerability, but steady exposure to truth creates stability. When you subscribe, you make a decision that this is not a one-time moment. You are saying, I choose to stay connected to prayer. I choose to stay aligned with protection. I choose to keep my spiritual guard up. This channel exists because too many people fight silently. They don't tell anyone what they're dealing with. They don't know where to go for prayer. They don't know how to stay spiritually alert without becoming anxious. Psalm 91, warfare was created for people like that. People who need strength without fear, authority without noise, and protection without confusion. When you subscribe, you're stepping into a community that understands warfare, not just comfort. A place where prayer is not emotional hype, but spiritual positioning. Where scripture is not quoted casually, but applied deliberately. And here is something important. The more consistently you are exposed to prayer, the less access fear has to you. Fear feeds on isolation. It grows when people feel alone, disconnected, and unsure. Staying connected breaks that cycle. This is why many people notice that when they stop praying regularly, stop engaging spiritually, or stop placing themselves under truth, pressure slowly returns. Not immediately, quietly, subtly. That's how attacks work. Staying connected is not paranoia. It is wisdom. Subscribing also means you won't miss what you need at the right time. Some prayers are preventative, others are timely. God often uses a message to reach you before something happens, not after. Staying subscribed keeps you positioned to receive what you need when you need it. And let me say this plainly, you don't need to remember everything. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to pray long prayers every day, but you do need consistent reminders of where you dwell. This channel exists to provide that. If you have ever felt sudden fear, unexplained heaviness, or spiritual pressure that made no sense, if you have ever felt like something was trying to interrupt your peace quietly, then staying connected here is not optional. It is strategic. So take this step now. Subscribe to Psalm 91 Warfare, not later, not eventually, now. When you subscribe, you are choosing covering over isolation, clarity over confusion, and consistency over vulnerability. You are saying, I will not drift, I will not disconnect. I will remain under protection. And every time you return, every prayer you hear, every declaration you repeat, strengthens that covering. You are not just supporting a channel, you are reinforcing your position. You are staying where you are protected. Make that decision now. Stay focused, because now we move deeper into how Psalm 91 actually works in practice, not as a religious phrase, but as a living shield that responds to real pressure. One of the biggest mistakes people make with Psalm 91 is treating it like a promise that works automatically. It does not. It works by position. Everything in this psalm flows from the very first line. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, not visits, not passes through, dwells. Dwelling is intentional, it is daily, it is consistent, and most importantly, it is chosen. Sudden and invisible attacks gain access when people drift spiritually, not because they stop believing in God, but because they stop remaining aware. Awareness is not fear, awareness is alignment. Psalm 91 trains the soul to remain aligned even when nothing seems wrong. That is why it is preventative. Invisible attacks almost never begin as crises. They begin as small shifts. A little fear, a little anxiety, a little pressure, a subtle loss of peace, a heaviness that doesn't match your life. The enemy rarely kicks the door down. He looks for doors that are already unlocked. Psalm 91 locks doors. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night. Terror by night does not always mean nightmares. Often it means thoughts that come when the mind is quiet, worries that surface when distractions are gone, anxiety that waits for silence. Psalm 91 addresses the night because the night is where many battles begin internally. Nor the arrow that flies by day. Day attacks are different. They come through pressure, urgency, distraction, and overload. They try to push you into decisions without clarity. They try to rush you. Psalm 91 covers both because protection must be continuous, not situational. A major reason people struggle with sudden attacks is because they react instead of remain. Reaction pulls you out of position. Remaining keeps you covered. This psalm teaches you not to chase the attack, but to stay under protection. Another powerful line says, 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This is not denial of reality, this is separation. It means chaos can exist around you without gaining access to you. Many people are emotionally sensitive and spiritually discerning. They feel what others don't. But sensitivity without boundaries leads to overload. Psalm 91 gives boundaries. It teaches your spirit to observe without absorbing. Just because something is happening around you does not mean it belongs to you. Just because others are affected does not mean you are required to be affected. Dwelling under the Most High creates distinction, for he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. This verse reveals something critical. Protection is assigned. Angels are not vague comfort. They are active responders. But notice the phrase, in all your ways. That means as you move, as you live, as you decide, not just when you pray. Many people only seek protection when they feel attacked. Psalm 91 establishes protection before movement, before decisions, before rest, before action. This is why repeating Psalm 91 7 times matters. It reinforces position across every area. 7 in Scripture represents completion and establishment. Repeating Psalm 91 7 times is not superstition. It is reinforcement. What you repeat consistently becomes the dominant voice in your spirit, and the dominant voice determines your response under pressure. When fear tries to rise suddenly, the dominant voice speaks first. When anxiety tries to creep in, the dominant voice answers. Psalm 91 trains that voice. Another powerful truth, because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. Deliverance here is not rescue after damage. It is intervention before harm. God does not wait for destruction to act. He intervenes when alignment is established. Invisible attacks hate clarity. They thrive in confusion. Psalm 91 brings clarity. It reminds you who protects you, where you dwell, and what has access. One of the most overlooked aspects of Psalm 91 is confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing you are covered. This confidence changes how you walk, how you rest, and how you respond. Fear loses ground when confidence is steady. If you constantly feel alert, tense, or braced for impact, that is not protection, that is vigilance. Psalm 91 replaces vigilance with trust. Trust is not passive, it is settled. Settled people are harder to attack. When you are settled, you are not easily startled. You are not easily manipulated. You are not easily rushed. Psalm 91 creates that internal stability. There are people listening who have been living alert for too long, always watching, always sensing, always bracing. This psalm is not telling you to lower your guard. It is telling you to transfer the guard to God. You do not need to monitor everything. You need to dwell. Dwelling is restful, but it is also powerful. It is not spiritual laziness. It is spiritual confidence. It says, I know where I am positioned. This is why the enemy works so hard to pull people into distraction, offense, fatigue, and isolation. Those things don't destroy faith, but they weaken position. Psalm 91 restores it. If this message is resonating, take a moment and respond in agreement. Go to the comments and write this declaration, even if you've already written it before. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Each time you declare it, you reinforce position. As we continue, understand this clearly. Psalm 91 is not a shield you pick up in emergencies. It is a place you live. And when you live there, what tries to approach you finds no access. Protection is not fragile, coverage is not temporary, and when you dwell, fear loses its invitation. Stay there. Many people come to Psalm 91 only after something has already shaken them, after fear hits, after peace is interrupted, after pressure shows up suddenly. And while God still protects, this reactive posture keeps people spiritually tired. Psalm 91 was never designed to be an emergency button. It was designed to be a permanent residence. This is why the first verse matters so much. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. The secret place is not a physical location. It is a relational position. It is where trust, obedience, and awareness meet. You do not stumble into it accidentally. You choose it intentionally. Invisible attacks succeed when people compartmentalize faith. When prayer is something they do instead of somewhere they live. When God is invited into moments instead of being acknowledged as covering every moment. Psalm 91 dismantles compartmentalized faith. It demands integration. The secret place is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is consistent, and consistency is what breaks patterns that drama never could. One of the reasons sudden attacks feel so destabilizing is because they interrupt people who were already living on edge. Many believers are spiritually alert, but not spiritually rested. They sense danger everywhere, but feel safe nowhere. That is not discernment, that is exhaustion. Psalm 91 restores rest without removing awareness. You shall not be afraid. This phrase is not a command to suppress emotion. It is a result of position. Fear loses influence when safety is established. God does not shame you for feeling fear. He removes the conditions that allow fear to dominate. Night fear is often emotional. Day fear is often mental. Psalm 91 covers both because God understands the whole human experience. He does not just guard your body, He guards your mind, your emotions, your decisions, and your future. Another reason Psalm 91 is misunderstood is because people assume protection means the absence of challenge. It does not. It means the absence of access. Challenges may exist, pressure may exist, but access is denied. This is why the Psalm says, "It shall not come near you," not that it will not exist, not that you will never see danger, but it will not breach your covering. Many people confuse exposure with vulnerability. You can be exposed to information, environments, and even tension without being vulnerable. Vulnerability happens when boundaries are absent. Psalm 91 establishes boundaries. Generational patterns often work through emotional breaches, a family line of anxiety, fear of loss, constant anticipation of bad news. These patterns pass down not through events, but through nervous systems trained to expect danger. Psalm 91 retrains the nervous system of the soul. When you dwell under the Most High, your internal responses begin to change. You react slower, you recover faster, you rest deeper. You are not numbing yourself, you are stabilizing yourself. This is one of the greatest evidences of true spiritual protection. Regulation, not hype, not adrenaline, regulation. A calm strength that does not collapse under pressure. For he shall give his angels charge over you. This tells us that God does not expect you to self-protect constantly. Protection is delegated. You are not on duty 24/7. God is. People burn out spiritually when they try to monitor everything, every thought, every feeling, every situation. Psalm 91 releases you from that burden. It places responsibility where it belongs. Another critical truth. Psalm 91 works best when it is spoken before fear speaks. Fear is loud when it goes unanswered, but when truth is already established, fear finds no microphone. That is why repetition matters. Repeating Psalm 91 7 times is not about convincing your emotions. It is about training your spirit. The spirit responds faster than the mind. When your spirit is anchored, your mind follows. Think about how many thoughts you repeat unconsciously every day. Worries, assumptions, what-ifs. Repetition shapes reality internally. Psalm 91 interrupts unhealthy repetition with divine repetition. When something repeats in your life, it is either being reinforced or being confronted. Psalm 91 confronts repetition with authority. This is especially important for people who feel like attacks come in cycles. Calm, then disruption. Peace, then pressure. Progress, then resistance. These cycles are often broken not by force, but by consistency. Consistency does not excite the flesh, but it terrifies the enemy. The enemy is patient. That is why people must be consistent. One day of prayer is good. A lifestyle of dwelling is decisive. Psalm 91 is not meant to be inspirational. It is meant to be foundational, something you build on, not visit. There are people listening who have been strong for a long time. You've handled things quietly. You've prayed alone. You've stayed faithful without recognition. Psalm 91 is not asking you to be stronger. It is inviting you to be safer. Safety does not mean weakness. It means proper placement. When you are properly placed, attacks do not define your week. They do not dominate your mood. They do not dictate your decisions. You notice them, but they do not control you. This is why Psalm 91 ends with God speaking directly, "Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him." This is relational language. God is not responding to technique. He is responding to devotion. Deliverance here is relational alignment, producing practical protection. If you feel like you have been doing everything right, but still feel pressure, this is not condemnation. It may simply mean it is time to move from effort to dwelling, from striving to remaining, from vigilance to trust. As this settles, take a moment to respond again in agreement. Go to the comments and write the declaration, even if it feels repetitive. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Each time you write it, you are not repeating words, you are reinforcing position. As we move forward, remember this: you do not need stronger emotions. You do not need louder prayers, you need deeper dwelling. And when you dwell, protection is not something you hope for, it is something you live under. Stay with me, because now we need to confront why sudden and invisible attacks often intensify when things start going right. This confuses many people. They expect attacks when life is falling apart. But often, pressure increases when peace begins to settle, when clarity grows, when alignment deepens. This is not coincidence, it is resistance reacting to position. Psalm 91 makes something very clear. When you dwell under the Most High, you become unavailable. And what loses access does not leave quietly. It tests boundaries, it looks for openings. It tries to re-establish influence through fear, distraction, or subtle pressure. That does not mean protection is failing. It means protection is working. Invisible attacks often feel psychological, but they are not rooted in the mind. They are rooted in displacement. Something that once had access no longer does, and it responds by trying to provoke reaction. Psalm 91 teaches you not to react. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler. A snare is a trap that works only if you step into it. It does not chase, it waits. Many sudden attacks are not attacks at all. They are triggers designed to pull you out of position. Fear is one of the most common snares. A sudden thought, a wave of anxiety, a feeling of danger without evidence. If fear succeeds in pulling your focus, your peace, or your trust, it gains temporary influence. Psalm 91 blocks that by establishing truth before fear speaks. This is why remaining matters more than reacting. Another snare is urgency, pressure that says, you need to act now. You're running out of time. Fix this immediately. Urgency without clarity is rarely from God. God leads with peace, not panic. Psalm 91 slows the soul so urgency cannot hijack decision-making. Many people think spiritual warfare always looks aggressive. Often it looks subtle, a disruption of rhythm, a disturbance of rest, a loss of focus. Psalm 91 protects rhythm. It preserves rest, it stabilizes focus. You shall not be afraid of the arrow that flies by day. Arrows are targeted. They are aimed. They are intentional. Day arrows often come through words, conversations, information, or responsibilities, things that seem normal but carry pressure. Psalm 91 does not remove responsibility, it removes overload. Overload is one of the enemy's favorite tools against protected people. If he cannot harm you directly, he tries to exhaust you indirectly. Psalm 91 responds by restoring trust in God's active protection. You are not required to manage everything, for he shall give his angels charge over you. This means you are not alone in maintaining boundaries. Heaven is involved. When you dwell, help is already assigned. You are not waiting for backup, you are already covered. This is why spiritual burnout is often a sign of misplacement, not lack of faith. People burn out when they try to guard themselves instead of dwelling. Psalm 91 shifts responsibility back to God where it belongs. Another reason sudden attacks appear is because generational patterns resist interruption. When you choose to dwell, you are not only protecting yourself, you are breaking continuity. Patterns that flowed uninterrupted now meet resistance. Resistance exposes them. This can feel uncomfortable because disruption feels unfamiliar. But discomfort does not mean danger. Often, it means change is happening at a deeper level. Psalm 91 does not promise comfort, it promises coverage. Comfort grows as trust deepens. 1,000 may fall at your side. This verse teaches discernment. You may witness chaos, you may hear stories of loss, fear, or confusion, but witnessing does not equal participating. Psalm 91 trains the soul to observe without absorbing. Many people absorb what they observe. They carry other people's fear, pressure, and anxiety. Over time, this becomes heavy. Psalm 91 establishes separation. What is not assigned to you does not need to be carried by you. This is especially important for people who are empathetic, prayerful, or spiritually sensitive. Sensitivity without boundaries is draining. Psalm 91 gives boundaries without hardening the heart. You shall only look with your eyes and see the reward of the wicked. This is not about judgment, it is about distance. You see, but you are not pulled in. You are aware, but not affected. This is maturity. Invisible attacks lose power when they are seen clearly. Fear grows in ambiguity. Clarity shrinks fear. Psalm 91 provides clarity by defining who protects you and how. Another powerful truth, Psalm 91 does not require you to feel protected to be protected. Feelings fluctuate. Position does not. Many people wait to feel safe before they rest. Psalm 91 invites rest because safety is already established. Rest is not weakness. Rest is confidence. When you rest, you stop feeding fear. Fear feeds on attention. Rest starves it. This is why dwelling is so effective. Dwelling is not dramatic. It is steady. It is quiet. And quiet confidence is difficult to attack. There are people listening who feel like they are always on alert, always scanning, always anticipating. That is not discernment. That is survival mode. Psalm 91 moves you out of survival mode and into security mode. Security mode does not ignore danger. It trusts coverage. Another line says, "With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation." This is future-oriented protection. God is not only protecting you today, He is preserving your tomorrow. Sudden attacks often target future hope. Psalm 91 guards it. When hope is guarded, motivation stabilizes. When motivation stabilizes, consistency returns. This is how dwelling becomes sustainable. Dwelling does not require perfect behavior. It requires intentional returning. Even when distracted, you return. Even when tired, you return. Even when uncertain, you return. Every return strengthens position. If you feel like your peace has been interrupted recently, do not panic. Do not overanalyze. Return. If you feel pressure rising without cause, do not fight it emotionally. Return. Dwelling is the answer more often than confrontation. As you listen, reinforce your position again. Go to the comments and write the declaration once more, not out of fear, but out of confidence. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Each declaration is a reminder to your spirit. As we continue, remember this: attacks test access. Dwelling removes access. You are not meant to live alert forever. You are meant to live covered. And when you dwell, what tries to approach you finds no invitation. Take a breath for a moment, because this part is not about fighting harder. It's about remembering who you are becoming. Spiritual motivation is not hype. It is alignment with truth when emotions are quiet. Many people think motivation comes from feeling strong, but real spiritual strength comes from knowing you are covered even when you feel weak. Psalm 91 was never meant to turn you into someone anxious and alert all the time. It was meant to turn you into someone secure, steady, and unshakable. You need to hear this clearly. If you are still standing after everything you've faced, it is not by accident. If you are still believing after disappointment, it is not luck. If you are still seeking God after silent battles, it is not coincidence. It is protection at work, often unnoticed but very real. Many attacks never reached you, and you'll never know how close they came. Psalm 91 is not just about what God does when danger appears. It's about what God prevents quietly. The peace you have right now is evidence of battles you didn't have to fight, and that matters. Spiritual motivation grows when you stop measuring God's faithfulness only by visible victories and start recognizing invisible preservation. You were kept. You were guarded. You were spared moments that could have changed everything. That alone should strengthen you. You may not feel powerful every day. You may not feel fearless, but protection does not depend on your emotions. It depends on your position. And if you are dwelling, even imperfectly, you are positioned. God is not asking you to be flawless. He is asking you to remain. Remaining does not mean never struggling. It means returning. Returning to prayer, returning to truth, returning to trust. Every return weakens fear and strengthens faith. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing. You are learning how to live from safety instead of survival. That shift alone is transformational. Many people grew up spiritually braced, always expecting something bad, always preparing for loss, always assuming peace won't last. Psalm 91 rewires that expectation. It teaches the soul to expect coverage, not chaos. And expectation shapes experience. When you expect danger, you tense. When you expect protection, you settle. Settled people make better decisions. Settled people hear God more clearly. Settled people are harder to manipulate spiritually. This is not weakness. This is maturity. You don't need to prove your faith by enduring unnecessary stress. You don't need to prove your strength by carrying what God already offered to carry for you. You don't need to prove anything. You are already seen. You are already covered. You are already being sustained. Sometimes spiritual motivation is simply permission to stop being so hard on yourself. God is not disappointed in you for getting tired. He is inviting you to rest under His wings. Psalm 91 does not say, "He who strives." It says, "He who dwells." Dwelling is gentle. Dwelling is consistent. Dwelling is sustainable. And sustainability is what keeps you moving forward without burning out. You are allowed to hope again. You are allowed to relax your shoulders. You are allowed to believe that peace can last. Believing that peace can last is not naive. It is biblical. Your future is not fragile. Your calling is not hanging by a thread. Your life is not one mistake away from collapse. You are sealed. And when you truly believe that, motivation changes. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop reacting to every feeling. You stop assuming the worst. You begin to walk forward calmly. That calm is powerful. It confuses fear. It disrupts anxiety. It closes doors without noise. There is a quiet confidence growing in you, even if you don't feel it yet. That confidence is not self-generated. It is the fruit of knowing where you dwell, under the shadow of the Almighty, not occasionally, not emotionally, but positionally. And position is stronger than emotion. If you feel tired today, that does not disqualify you. If you feel uncertain, that does not expose you. If you feel weak, that does not remove your covering. Protection does not lift when you feel human. It remains. Let this truth motivate you. You are not fighting for safety. You are learning to live from it. You are not chasing peace. You are returning to it. And you are not alone in this. If this message strengthens you, go to the comments and place this declaration again, not out of fear, but out of confidence. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Write it as a reminder to your own soul. And as you do, remember this: God does not protect halfway. He does not cover partially. He does not abandon quietly. You are kept. You are seen. You are secure. Keep moving forward, not rushed, not pressured, not afraid, but settled, covered, and confident in the one who watches over you. This is not the end of your strength. This is the beginning of a calmer, steadier one. Now, it's important to understand something that brings everything together. Psalm 91 does not work because danger disappears. It works because access is denied. Many people expect protection to feel dramatic. They think being covered means they will constantly feel spiritual power, emotional certainty, or visible signs. But real protection often feels quiet. It feels like stability. It feels like nothing happening, and that is the point. The enemy measures success by disruption. God measures success by preservation. If nothing is breaking, collapsing, or stealing your peace today, that is not stagnation. That is protection doing its job. Psalm 91 is a psalm of maintenance, not just rescue. It maintains peace. It maintains clarity. It maintains direction. It keeps things from escalating. And escalation is how most damage happens. Sudden and invisible attacks aim to destabilize before you can respond. They create emotional whiplash. One moment you're fine, the next you're overwhelmed. Psalm 91 neutralizes that by creating internal consistency. When your internal state is consistent, sudden pressure has nowhere to land. This is why the psalm emphasizes dwelling. Dwelling creates predictability in the spirit. Predictability doesn't mean boredom, it means security. When your spirit knows where it lives, it does not panic when something unexpected appears. It recognizes the boundary. One of the most dangerous lies people believe is that if something feels sudden, it must be powerful. That's not true. Sudden does not mean authorized. Invisible does not mean unstoppable. Many attacks rely on surprise because they lack permission. Psalm 91 exposes that. You shall not be afraid. This statement removes the fuel that sudden attacks depend on. Fear accelerates damage. Calm slows everything down. Calm gives truth time to speak. Truth always arrives slower than fear, but it lasts longer. This is why Psalm 91 teaches you not to rush emotionally. When pressure hits, you don't chase explanations. You don't immediately analyze. You don't spiral. You return to position. Position answers questions before they form. Another important truth, Psalm 91 does not isolate you from reality. It anchors you within it. You still live, work, decide, and engage. But you do so from coverage, not exposure. Coverage changes how you interpret events. When you're covered, setbacks don't feel like threats. When you're covered, delays don't feel like danger. When you're covered, silence doesn't feel like abandonment. Psalm 91 retrains interpretation. Many people suffer not because of what happens, but because of what they assume it means. Assumptions feed fear. Psalm 91 feeds trust. This is why dwelling is so powerful. Dwelling keeps your interpretations grounded, for he shall be with you in trouble. Notice it does not say he removes all trouble immediately. It says he is with you. Presence stabilizes perception. When you know you are not alone, trouble does not escalate internally. Escalation is where invisible attacks gain strength. Invisible attacks often try to create secondary damage. The initial pressure is small, but the reaction multiplies it. Psalm 91 prevents secondary damage by keeping the heart steady. You are not protected because you avoid trouble. You are protected because trouble does not control you. That distinction matters. Another reason Psalm 91 is so effective is because it shifts responsibility. Many people feel responsible for preventing everything bad from happening. That pressure is exhausting. Psalm 91 reminds you that God carries the responsibility of guarding you. You are responsible for dwelling. God is responsible for protecting. When those roles are confused, people burn out. When those roles are clear, peace returns. This psalm also protects timing. Sudden attacks often try to rush decisions. They create urgency without wisdom. Psalm 91 slows the internal clock. It reminds you that God is not late, and neither are you. When you're covered, you don't make panic decisions. You wait, you listen, you remain. Remaining is not doing nothing. It is staying aligned. Alignment keeps doors closed that panic would open. There are people listening who feel pressure to fix everything quickly, pressure to resolve, explain, or control outcomes. Psalm 91 releases you from that burden. It teaches you to trust that what is not authorized will not succeed. Trust is not passive. It is settled action. Another overlooked aspect of Psalm 91 is joy. When fear is removed, joy has space to return. Not forced joy. Quiet joy, the kind that doesn't need permission to exist. Joy is not naive. Joy is evidence of safety, and safety fuels endurance. This is why people who dwell under Psalm 91 often become resilient without becoming hardened. They don't shut down emotionally, they stabilize. Stability is attractive. Stability is influential. Stability is powerful. Others may not understand why you're calm. That's okay. Calm does not need validation. You are not required to explain your peace. As this settles, let your spirit agree again with where you live. Not emotionally, but positionally. Go to the comments and write the declaration once more. Not because you're afraid, but because you're established. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Each time you declare it, you reinforce reality. As we continue through this psalm, remember this truth: protection is not something you earn. It is something you remain under. You are not fighting to be safe. You are learning to stay where safety already exists. And when you stay, what tries to reach you finds no access. Not loudly, not subtly, not suddenly. You are sealed. Let's continue, because now we need to talk about what happens internally when Psalm 91 truly becomes your dwelling place. This is where many people notice the biggest shift. Not outside first, but inside. When you begin to dwell instead of react, your inner noise starts to quiet. Thoughts slow down, emotional spikes lose intensity. The constant feeling of something is about to go wrong begins to loosen its grip. This is not imagination. This is regulation returning to the soul. Psalm 91 does not only block attacks, it reorders your internal system. For a long time, many people have lived in a state of low-level alert. Not panic, but constant readiness, always scanning, always anticipating, always preparing for impact. Over time, that posture becomes normal. People don't even realize how tense they are anymore. Psalm 91 interrupts that posture. He who dwells means your nervous system learns a new default. Instead of alert, it becomes anchored. Instead of braced, it becomes settled. This matters because invisible attacks often attach to tension. They amplify what is already strained. When the soul settles, there is less to attach to. This is why some people feel strange when peace starts to last. Calm can feel unfamiliar when chaos was familiar. Rest can feel unsafe when survival was normal. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. It means new alignment. Psalm 91 gently retrains you to live from safety, not anticipation. Another internal shift that happens is clarity. When fear reduces, clarity increases. Decisions feel less rushed. Thoughts feel less crowded. You stop replaying scenarios over and over. That mental quiet is not emptiness. It is space for discernment. Discernment is different from anxiety. Anxiety asks, what if? Discernment asks, what is true? Psalm 91 strengthens discernment by removing emotional urgency. Urgency clouds judgment. Calm sharpens it. When you are calm, you see things as they are, not as fear presents them. This is why dwelling protects your future as much as your present. Many bad decisions are made under pressure. Psalm 91 reduces pressure internally so decisions can be made wisely. Protection is not only about avoiding harm, it is about preserving wisdom. Another change people notice is emotional recovery. Things may still happen, but you bounce back faster. You don't spiral as long. You don't carry things as deeply. This is not numbness. This is resilience. Resilience grows where safety is consistent. Psalm 91 provides consistency. It does not fluctuate with mood. It does not depend on circumstances. That consistency becomes a stabilizing force inside you. He shall cover you with his feathers. Covering implies closeness, not distance, not detachment. God does not protect from far away. He protects from proximity. That closeness reassures the soul even when the mind doesn't have answers. When the soul feels covered, the mind relaxes. Many people try to think their way into peace. Psalm 91 invites you to live your way into it. Dwelling changes experience first, understanding second. Peace does not always come with explanation. Sometimes it comes with presence. Presence is enough. Another internal shift is confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet assurance. You stop feeling the need to prove your faith. You stop feeling pressure to explain your calm. You don't need validation. You know where you are positioned. This confidence is dangerous to fear. Fear feeds on uncertainty. Confidence feeds on clarity. Psalm 91 brings clarity by defining who protects you and how thoroughly. When protection is clear, fear loses its leverage. Another important internal change is rest. Real rest. Not collapse rest, but restorative rest. The kind that leaves you stronger, not just less tired. Psalm 91 teaches your system that it does not need to stay on all the time. God does not sleep. You can. That alone is powerful. Many people are exhausted because they are doing God's job internally. Monitoring, guarding, anticipating. Psalm 91 releases you from that burden. It hands vigilance back to God. This does not make you careless. It makes you covered. Covered people rest better. Rested people discern better. Discerning people avoid traps. This is how Psalm 91 protects you without drama. Another shift you may notice is emotional honesty. When you feel safe, you don't need to pretend. You can acknowledge weakness without fear of collapse. You can admit uncertainty without panic. Safety allows honesty. Psalm 91 creates an environment where honesty does not lead to exposure. Exposure is dangerous when protection is absent. But under covering, honesty becomes healing. There are people listening who have been strong for everyone else. You held things together. You stayed composed. You didn't fall apart. Psalm 91 is not asking you to keep being strong. It is giving you permission to be held. Being held does not weaken you. It restores you. Another internal sign that Psalm 91 is working is patience. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop rushing processes. You trust timing more. Patience is not delay. It is confidence that God is active even when you are not. This patience protects you from invisible attacks that use haste as an entry point. Haste opens doors. Patience closes them. Psalm 91 cultivates patience naturally because fear no longer drives urgency. You may also notice a shift in how you interpret silence. Silence stops feeling like danger. It becomes neutral, sometimes even peaceful. This is important because many people associate silence with abandonment. Psalm 91 reframes silence as space where God is still present. God does not leave when things are quiet. Often that's when He's closest. As these internal changes unfold, don't rush them. Don't analyze them too much. Let them settle. Dwelling is not something you micromanage. It is something you allow. Allow yourself to feel safer. Allow yourself to slow down. Allow yourself to trust. If you feel these changes beginning, even slightly, acknowledge them. That acknowledgement strengthens them. Take a moment now and respond in agreement. Go to the comments and write the declaration again, calmly and confidently. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. You are not saying this to create safety. You are saying it because safety is already established. As we move forward, remember this: protection does not always announce itself. Sometimes it feels like calm. Sometimes it feels like clarity. Sometimes it feels like rest. And those are not signs of weakness. They are signs that Psalm 91 is doing exactly what it was written to do. You are not drifting, you are dwelling. And dwelling changes everything. Let's keep moving, because now we need to address why consistency is the final barrier that breaks invisible attacks permanently. Many people experience moments of peace, clarity, or relief, but they don't always last. Not because Psalm 91 stopped working, but because dwelling was interrupted. Dwelling is not a feeling you maintain. It is a position you return to again and again until it becomes your default. Invisible attacks are persistent, not powerful. They rely on wear, not force. They don't try to destroy you in one moment. They try to exhaust you over time. Psalm 91 defeats this strategy through consistency. When you dwell, you are not responding to each new pressure as if it's the first time. You are responding from a place that is already established. That changes everything. Attacks lose momentum when they don't create reaction. Reaction feeds cycles. Consistency breaks them. This is why the psalm does not say, "He who believes once." It says, "He who dwells." Dwelling means you don't reset spiritually every time something happens. You don't start from zero emotionally. You don't question everything again. You return to where you already live. This is especially important for people who feel like attacks come in waves. Calm, then pressure. Relief, then disruption. Peace, then confusion. These waves are often attempts to pull you out of rhythm. Psalm 91 restores rhythm. Rhythm is powerful. Rhythm keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate. Rhythm keeps you grounded when circumstances change. Rhythm keeps you anchored when distractions increase. The enemy hates rhythm because rhythm makes you predictable, not to him, but to yourself. You know how you respond. You know where you return. You know what you do when pressure appears. Predictability to yourself creates stability. Another reason consistency matters is because protection compounds. Each return strengthens the next. Each declaration reinforces the boundary. Each moment of trust deepens confidence. Psalm 91 builds layers, not spikes. Many people want breakthrough moments. God often gives breakthrough lifestyles. A lifestyle of dwelling quietly outlasts dramatic moments of faith. This is why repeating Psalm 91 7 times matters. Not because 7 is magical, but because repetition establishes rhythm. It slows you down. It centers you. It reminds your spirit that you are not reacting. You are remaining. Consistency also retrains expectation. When you consistently return to Psalm 91, your expectation shifts from "what if something happens" to "if something happens, I am covered." That shift alone removes fear's leverage. Fear needs novelty to stay alive. Consistency makes fear boring. Boring fear loses power. Another important truth: consistency does not mean perfection. You will have distracted days, tired days, busy days. Psalm 91 does not require flawless attention. It requires intentional returning. Returning is what matters. Even when you forget, you return. Even when you drift, you return. Even when you feel off, you return. Every return closes doors that distraction might have opened. There are people listening who think they've failed spiritually because peace didn't last forever. That's not failure. That's feedback. It simply shows where consistency needs to grow. Psalm 91 is patient. It waits for you to return. Another reason consistency breaks invisible attacks is because it prevents accumulation. Small pressures don't pile up when they're addressed early. Psalm 91 addresses pressure before it becomes weight. Weight is what exhausts people. Pressure handled early does not become weight. When you dwell, pressure dissipates faster. This is also why many people feel relief just by listening to these prayers regularly. It's not emotional manipulation, it's rhythm restoring regulation. Your spirit recognizes familiar truth. Familiar truth brings calm. Calm restores order. Order is hostile to chaos. Another layer of consistency is community. Dwelling is personal, but it is reinforced when others agree with you. This is why engagement matters. Not for numbers, for agreement. Agreement strengthens position. When you write the declaration, when you return to it, when you see others standing with you, something shifts internally. Isolation weakens consistency. Community strengthens it. This is why staying connected matters. Consistency also protects your identity. When attacks repeat, people sometimes start identifying with struggle. This is just how my life is. Psalm 91 interrupts that identity formation. It reminds you that struggle is not who you are. It's something that lost access. Identity stabilizes when consistency replaces chaos. Another sign consistency is working is emotional neutrality toward things that once triggered you. You're not numb, you're less reactive. That neutrality is strength. It means old access points are closing. Closing access is not dramatic, it is steady. Psalm 91 is steady protection. This psalm also teaches you to value maintenance over emergency. Many people only pray intensely when things are bad. Psalm 91 teaches you to pray so things don't get bad. Maintenance is wisdom. Emergency response is costly. God prefers maintenance. Another benefit of consistency is trust in timing. When you dwell, you stop rushing God. You trust that He sees what you don't. This trust prevents desperation, one of the most dangerous emotional states spiritually. Desperation opens doors. Trust closes them. Psalm 91 grows trust quietly. You don't wake up one day suddenly fearless. You wake up one day realizing fear hasn't been running the conversation anymore. That's how real change feels. Subtle, stable, lasting. If you've noticed even small changes, sleeping better, thinking clearer, reacting slower, don't dismiss them. Those are signs of consistency taking root. A root does not announce itself. It stabilizes the whole structure. As this continues, take another moment to reinforce your position. Go to the comments and write the declaration again, not out of urgency, but out of habit. I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty, and no sudden or invisible attack can reach me or my family. Let it become familiar. Let it become natural. Let it become your default. Because when truth becomes familiar, fear becomes foreign. As we move forward, remember this. Breakthroughs come and go. Dwelling remains. And what remains protects you when emotions fluctuate, circumstances change, and life moves fast. You are not relying on moments anymore. You are living from position. And position, once established, is very hard to shake. Let's continue in the same flow, steady and clear, without breaking the atmosphere. Now we need to talk about authority, because protection without authority creates passivity. And Psalm 91 was never meant to produce passive believers. Many people feel protected, but they don't feel positioned. They feel safe, but not confident. Psalm 91 does both. It does not only cover you, it establishes where you stand. Authority in Psalm 91 does not come from volume, emotion, or intensity. It comes from identity and placement. When you dwell, authority follows naturally. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to prove it. It is recognized. This is why the psalm says, I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. Saying here is not emotional confession. It is alignment with reality. You are stating what is already true. Authority flows from agreement with truth, not from effort. Invisible attacks often test authority before they test faith. They probe to see if you will second-guess your position. They whisper doubt. They try to make you question whether you're really covered, really protected, really secure. Psalm 91 answers that before the question fully forms. When authority is settled, doubt has nowhere to attach. This is why dwelling matters so much. Authority cannot be borrowed. It grows where you remain. The more familiar you become with your position under God, the less influence fear has over you. Authority also changes how you respond to pressure. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond calmly. Calm response is not weakness, it is command. Panic signals uncertainty. Calm signals control. Control does not mean controlling everything, it means knowing who does. Psalm 91 teaches you to live from delegated authority. God covers, God assigns, God guards. Your role is to remain aligned. Many people feel spiritually overwhelmed because they believe they must actively fight every threat. Psalm 91 reveals a different model. You don't chase threats. You remain where threats cannot reach you. This is authority without exhaustion. Another important truth. Authority does not require confrontation with every feeling. Feelings rise and fall. Authority remains steady. You don't need to argue with anxiety. You don't need to debate fear. You return to position and authority does the work. This is why Psalm 91 is so effective against invisible attacks. Invisible attacks rely on internal chaos. Authority brings internal order. Order is intimidating to chaos. Another shift that happens when authority settles is discernment. You stop interpreting every sensation as a threat. You learn to distinguish between emotional noise and spiritual signals. Discernment protects energy. It keeps you from fighting battles that were never yours. Psalm 91 trains discernment by removing urgency. Urgency blurs vision. Authority sharpens it. When you are under authority, you don't rush decisions. You don't over-explain. You don't overreact. You wait with confidence. Waiting is not inactivity. Waiting is restraint. Restraint is a form of strength. Another sign authority is growing is emotional boundaries. You stop absorbing other people's fear. You stop carrying moods that don't belong to you. You stop internalizing pressure that wasn't assigned to you. Psalm 91 reinforces this separation. What falls around you does not fall on you. What affects others does not automatically affect you. This is not arrogance. This is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction defines where influence stops. When you know your jurisdiction, you don't cross boundaries emotionally or spiritually. You stay where you are authorized. Authority also affects speech. You stop speaking from anxiety. You stop declaring worst-case scenarios. You stop rehearsing fear. Words become measured. Declarations become intentional. Psalm 91 teaches you to speak from position, not from pressure. I will say of the Lord, not I hope, not I'm afraid, not what if. Authority chooses language carefully. Language reinforces reality. Another important aspect of authority is trust in God's response time. You don't panic if things don't change immediately. You trust that God's timing is part of protection. Many attacks try to force premature action. Authority resists that. Premature action opens doors. Authority keeps them closed. This is why consistent dwelling produces long-term peace, not short-term relief. There are people listening who are realizing that they've been protected for a long time, but didn't know how to stand confidently in that protection. Psalm 91 is giving you language, posture, and clarity. Confidence is not self-focus, it is God-focus. The more you trust God's covering, the less you feel the need to control outcomes. Another thing authority changes is rest. Rest becomes intentional, not accidental. You rest because you choose to, not because you collapse. Rest becomes an act of trust. Rest is one of the strongest declarations of authority. It says, God is watching. Invisible attacks hate rest because rest signals confidence. Fear needs vigilance to survive. Rest starves it. If you've been restless lately, that's not failure. It may be an invitation to deepen dwelling. Rest grows as authority settles. As this lands, take a moment to reinforce your position again.